Hey everyone, it's Mary Ann from the New York City Organization of Public Service Retirees. In light of everything that's gone on with AFSCME and DC 37 retirees, we wanted to do something to actually help. We take the position that what AFSCME did in DC 37 was wrong. Specifically, that they should not have put the DC 37 Retirees Association into administratorship, that they should have used this as a leadership opportunity and teaching opportunity to help educate them what they needed to do. We're all born to be workers. We're all taught to do a job. And then as we do it better and excel at what we do, we become a supervisor or a manager or an owner. So, in learning about the city of New York jobs, take your experience from there, we all became really good employees. And then some people became really good employees that they took a test and became a manager. Well, one day you don't just become a manager and know everything. You have to be taught how to be a good manager, how to be a good leader. And this is where AFSCME missed the ball. Ann Widger, unfortunately, wrote to Lee Saunders with only a month notice of the Retirees Association, knowing that they were in default of what was happening. And there was a lot of breakdowns there, right? So when you listen to what was going on, here was an organization. It was in the middle of COVID when they were having issues. They were not yet on top of their documents because of a accountant that wasn't filing things the way that they were supposed to. The people that were running the association was giving that information to the accountant, thinking that it was being handled, but then it really wasn't. And they didn't really know about that. But then again, they were still all mostly volunteers of people that were trying to help out and didn't realize that things weren't getting done that were supposed to be done. But if you think about what they should have done once they learned what was wrong, here was Ann Widger, who was the retiree representative from AFSCME International, who was meeting with DC 37 retirees like on a weekly basis and spoke at least almost daily. And if you're in that kind of a contact, she had responsibility to be a leader, which I'm assuming that she was, or she probably wouldn't be in the position that she's in. But here's the thing. With DC 37 retirees only knowing that there was this problem in about 30 days, she wrote immediately to Lee Saunders suggesting that they be put into administratorship and taken over. Rather than what she should have done was come in and then remedialize them, teach them, educate them, help them clean up what needed to be cleaned up. Now, AFSCME's house isn't clean, and neither is their DC 37's. There's several locals within the district council in New York City, DC 37, several locals that have not filed their taxes, are late filing their taxes, and have even had their nonprofit status, their 501c5, revoked. Okay. AFSCME International also has the same situation on a nationwide level. Why put the Retirees Association into receivership? There was no real urgency of emergent whatever that they claimed. If that's the case, then every one of the locals that was in AFSCME should be also under receivership. This also shows a lack of failure of education and leadership across the entire union, from the locals all the way up to the top. But here's the thing. The people that volunteer to take these positions or are elected to these offices, they have to be taught best practices. And if they're not taught best practices, then what will happen? This is why you have this kind of a situation nationwide. So during the course of this, our attorney's letter that went to DC 37 retirees saying, hey, we're answering your questions, but by the way, we found that in the course of answering the questions that you wanted, we came across that your association was not in compliance, and we just thought maybe you don't know that you should know since you're asking us questions about our financials. Let me give this to you now. And we weren't even sure that what we found was accurate because the IRS website states it that it's not up to date. They are well behind. They're focusing on keeping things up to date. Because of COVID, they are behind. And I will tell you that for a fact because there was a very long period of time you could not get through to the IRS. You had to wait for hours on hold even to get through. I remember I was trying to get a tax question answered for my aunt, and I could not get through to the IRS, that I actually had to go to her congressman to try to get an answer, who they couldn't get an answer for months. So this is a systemic problem. It's not just that you look on their website and you know that it's up to date. I mean, clearly DC 37 retirees could have been okay. It was just that it wasn't updated on the website. It was fine, but at least we gave them the heads up. Well, during the AFSCME judicial hearing, they used the letter that was sent from our tax attorney to Bob Gervasi, the president of DC 37 retirees, as like an exhibit, and just showing that we were answering their questions and had pointed out that it appeared that they hadn't filed their 990s, and it might be something they'd want to look into. So when I reached back out to her to let her know that they were using her letter in this hearing, she and I discussed doing a best practices letter, because look, our organization is still learning about how to do things. You're never not going to make a mistake. Everyone will make a mistake. It's how you handle it, whether it's with class or without class, is a little bit of a difference. So what we decided to do was put something up to help educate people what they should be doing. And there's a few other suggestions we could probably add to that, right? Like DC 37, DC 37, the district council, their treasurer is Maf Misbah-Uden. Their executive director is Henry Garrido. Their president is, I guess, Sean Francois, right? So why couldn't this organization, while they're sending an annual reminder letter to their locals, send a reminder letter and do also a check and balance to make sure that their retirees association is in compliance? Why isn't AFSCME doing that either? And of course, in any of those weekly conversations that Ms. Widger is having with these retiree groups, she should be making sure that there's not an issue there. So we asked our tax attorney if she would help us do a letter to help set a best practice and then guide someone who's in this situation, because we do believe this is what AFSCME should have done. So I want to share a document with you and go through it. This letter is from our tax attorney, Susan Horiski, to me, and she is educating me to share with you guidance for retiree organizations on IRS, the auto revocation list. And you can go to the IRS website and look up revocations, and it'll populate a list, and you can specify whether you want it to be an AFSCME organization or if you know of a specific group you want to look at, right? So she says, at your request, I have reviewed the current federal tax status of various New York City public service employee retiree organizations, and confirmed that unfortunately many of them have had their IRS tax exemption revoked for failure to file their 990 information returns. As you know, when I first discovered this with respect to the DC 37 retirees organization, I had hoped that there had been an error on the IRS records, which happened to a number of organizations recently due to a computer error during the pandemic. In order to help these organizations understand what has happened and take the necessary steps to restore their tax status, exempt status, I have prepared the following guidance for you to share. Auto revocation. Required filings. With a few limited exceptions that don't apply here, tax-exempt organizations are required to file an information return with the IRS each year. The particular form required depends on the organization's annual revenues and current assets. Form 990, either for gross revenue of $200,000 or more, or total assets of fiscal year end of $500,000 or more. Form 990EZ, an annual gross revenue of less than $200,000 and total assets at fiscal year end of less than $500,000. And a Form 990N e-postcard for an annual gross revenue of normally less than $50,000 or less. Due date. All information returns are due each year by the 15th of the 5th month of the following the end of the organization's fiscal year. For example, an organization with a fiscal year end on December 31 must file its return on or before May 15th. You may request an automatic 6-month extension of time to file the Form 990 or Form 990Z by filing Form 8868, an application for automatic extension of time to file an exempt organization's return. The auto revocation, the Pension Act of 2006, requires the IRS to revoke the tax exempt status of organizations that fail for 3 years consecutive to file their required 990, 990EZ, 990N, and the IRS began to publish an auto revocation notice in 2010. The tax exempt status of an organization that does not file a required return for 3 consecutive years will automatically be revoked as of the due date of the third unfiled return. Reinstatement of tax exempt status. The law prohibits the IRS from undoing automatic revocation and does not provide for an appeal process. An automatically revoked 501c5 organization must apply to have its status reinstated by filing a 1024 application. I've attached a copy to this memo of the IRS's current online 1024 application with the required schedule applicable to 501c5 organizations. Retroactive reinstatement. Organizations are eligible for retroactive reinstatement of their tax exempt status if they apply for reinstatement no later than 15 months after their status was revoked. If more than 15 months have passed, which I believe is the case for most of the organizations I have reviewed, the organizations would have to demonstrate that they had reasonable cause for failure to file each of the 3 missed returns. Unfortunately, being unaware of the filing requirement or deadlines does not qualify as a reasonable cause. Reinstatement, standard reinstatement. Organizations that do not qualify for retroactive reinstatement may request to have their statuses reinstated as of the date that they submit their new 1024 filing application. Delinquent tax filings. If an organization's tax exempt status is revoked, it is no longer exempt from federal income tax for the following year, for each year following that revocation. Consequently, it may be required to file a federal income tax return, Form 1120, U.S. corporation income tax return, and pay any applicable income taxes for those years. Looking ahead, as a first step, I would encourage all affected organizations to engage a reputable accountant to determine what a potential tax liability they may be facing, if any, to help compile the necessary financial information and the 1024 application. Certain accounting firms may even agree to help prepare the 1024 application. Please reach out with any questions and let me know of any organizations would like a recommendation for an accountant or an attorney who can advise them on this. And then you'll see she does attach the 1024 application, which is a very long application, as I can tell you, as we have done these. So I want to take this time to thank Susan Horiski from Said Who, because they have helped us out tremendously in filing our own documents, teaching us, and as she's always said to us that, you know, when issues came up, that these are growing pains, that this is part of the learning process, and it also depends upon the team that you have. In this situation, it's a shame that AFSCME chose to penalize these people who are volunteering and acting in the best interest of the people that they were tasked to represent. You're not born to be able to do this without having any education, but it is what you learn and the people that help you along the way that help you improve your better practices along. So if you have a situation like this, I can't do more than urge the people in this situation to change your leadership. In the situation of the accountant is Mr. Peter DiCarlo, that was also an accountant for several unions within the district council. This is not the first time he has failed to file documents and did not tell the organizations. I urge you, if he is your accountant, that you might consider changing accountants, because this has not just caused a problem. During the hearing, the AFSCME judicial hearing, it was also told to people in testimony, that Mr. DiCarlo used to also represent their unions and did not file their taxes either. So a real word to the wise, it is very important to have an accountant that does what he's supposed to do or she's supposed to do and responds timely and quickly in handling those things for you. So don't lose hope. Um, Make sure that you get your paperwork filed in timely. If you have any questions, Susan's information is on this letter. Please feel free to reach out to her or call another accountant or tax lawyer. Susan is a tax attorney that they will be able to help you. Sometimes when we hire or keep someone as a vendor or someone that works for us, hired to do things for us, that just because they've been doing them for years, but they may not do a great job, it's time to change them. So all I can tell you is I wish you luck. And if you do need help, please reach out for it. If you have questions, we might be able to help you. You can always send them to us. But at this point, if you are a union or a retiree organization in one of these situations, we urge you to reach out to a reputable accountant that can help you. Have a great day.